right, welcome to episode number 5 of Gyrl Lyfe. This is Nicole.
I'm Taylor.
And today we're going to be talking about
how your past does not define you and how it shapes you.
Yes. So, your past doesn't necessarily define you, but it definitely shapes you, who you are as a person. So, if you know what we're talking about, you know what we're talking about. So, we're going to talk about
I just feel like your past. So, you've obviously gone through challenges. You've fucked up yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone through heartbreak. You've caused heartbreak.
You've done some things you're not very proud of. Done some things you thought you would never do and are ashamed of them.
Learn to forgive yourself.
Learn to forgive yourself. For sure.
Which is a huge thing. Learning what not to do.
Yeah, I guess you learn from how you feel about how you're treating a certain situation or how you're acting or what you're doing. And you kind of learn from, like, if you're in a situation and you, like, let's say you react in a certain way and you burst out or something.
I feel like each situation that you encounter in life, like, as you go through it, like, if it's a stressor, you, like, learn each time better how to, like, react to it. Like, I know in my past...
Life experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's basically life experience.
Yeah. Like, I used to be a super explosive person. Now I don't explode over, like, anything. And I just feel like it's because you learn, because I feel like so many people don't get the concept, such a cheesy line, but, like, don't cause a permanent situation from a temporary situation.
Yeah, like, don't choose a don't, what is this saying? Like,
I know it's something like, don't say something or do something that's going to make it permanent for a temporary situation. Like, if you're in an argument with someone, or, like, for example, like a breakup, like, you could do the meanest shit to someone and that's permanent. Like, that person's never going to forget that shit. And it's for a temporary situation that one way or the other is going to end. Like, you know, or just, like, even a conversation or an argument in general. Like,
I mean, you get into fights with people and you ultimately learn from each fight that you have. And something that I've kind of learned throughout life is that when things don't go my way, that it's okay and I'm going to live.
Right, yeah. Which I used to not think that, but that's something that you develop as you get older.
I used to get anxiety when things didn't go my way.
Mm-hmm.
Like constant anxiety if things didn't go. I think I was a little bit of, like, a control freak.
Yes.
And I want, like, it's just so crazy. I think I was definitely spoiled too growing up. But yeah, it's definitely ridiculous. But now I feel like I've matured.
Mm-hmm.
And if something doesn't go my way, it's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. The world does not revolve around Nicole.
I used to be a control freak to the max, too. I used to be a fucking brat if shit didn't go
Oh my god. I would get into fights with my ex-boyfriend about stuff like...
Yes.
Like, little things that would just, like, I would be so irritable.
But I think that does come along, too, with just, like, shit. Like, other stuff that you're not happy with, too.
Well, you're dealing with... Everyone's dealing with something, let's be real.
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever you're dealing with, just know that you're not alone. And that you're going to get through it. And your past doesn't define you. You can get into fights with anyone, your mom, your dad, you know, your brother, your sister, anyone, your friend.
I just know, like, these past few years after my breakup, like, I made some pretty fucked up decisions. Like, I didn't, like, and I look back and I'm just like, I wish that didn't happen, but at the same time, it did. And, like, you need to learn to forgive yourself. Like, screwing someone over or just overall making a really messed up decision. Like, I don't know. I feel like you can hurt a lot of people along the way doing what you need to do for yourself, which is something that I've learned, where sometimes you can't let other people's feelings affect you, but you just need to know how to handle their feelings in the right way, which I feel like is something you learn.
If they're important to you, you'll know how to handle that situation.
Exactly.
Or you'll figure out a way to be okay with that situation. But yeah, I don't even know how to go off that.
It's just like growing up. Like,
it is basically
like,
growing up.
Not childhood trauma, but like just growing up and not appreciating stuff in your upbringing. I feel like a lot of people play that into a part of who they are, and like they need to try and understand like that doesn't define you. And like I feel like a lot of people see that and they don't realize that it's like you can conquer that and overcome that, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and can we just talk about how you are not the same person you were 4 years ago?
No. And so many people don't get that. Like, oh, I freaking, like, I hate talking about it, but like my ex, for example, like, I started dating him when I was fucking 17. Like, you are immature, you're
absolutely
a brat, like, you have no responsibilities, like, you don't even know who the fuck you are. Like,
you don't. You're 17. You think you know think you know the world.
Exactly. You're a child. And
when I was a senior in high school, when I was 17,
yeah,
I thought I knew my shit. Like, I thought I was hot shit. I thought I was, like, on top of the world. I thought, what a joke.
Like, I look back, I mean, I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing at all. But definitely have come a long way since then, I would hope.
You're no longer so...
But I just remember we broke up when I was 21. And he was like, just kept repeating, you're not the same person. You're not the same person. It's like, I would hope not. And like, that's the one thing that I realize is like, so many people get mad about you changing as a person, and it's like, you can't get pissed off at someone for evolving, which I know that
you can grow out of people.
Definitely.
You can outgrow someone. You can outgrow your friends. And that's something like, you know, like, there's a difference between losing contact and not keeping in touch as much as you would like to, and losing, what was I saying? Like, you're not compatible friends anymore.
Yeah, like, there's just some people that it's like you're not compatible with. Like, you don't have common interests. You don't, like, there's just nothing there anymore to hold on to the friendship.
I have very few friends that I kept from high school.
Yeah.
Very few. I'm not even friends with my best friend from high school.
No.
That's how, I mean, I was once told by my science teacher in high school, I was bawling my eyes out because something had happened, and people were just, I felt like people were out to get me, and like, no, like, people, I basically lost my best friend, and my science teacher told me something like, when you are 30, none of this is going to matter. And I feel like it's true. In your life, it's not going to matter. You know, it sucks right now. Like, it sucked then, and like, whatever, but like, it's going to get better. Like, it doesn't that moment doesn't define the rest of your life.
No, it doesn't. I mean,
things are going to get better.
When like shit happens like that, it feels like the end of your life.
I wish I could go back to that, like, that girl in high school and just say, hey, Nicole, everything's going to be fine. You're going to turn out great. You're going to get through this. You know, like, you're not going, you know, like, there were days that I felt like I needed to eat lunch in the bathroom stall because I was so afraid, because I didn't have my friends anymore, and you know, and I was that low, and it just brought me into a better, like, right now, obviously, I'm in a really good place, but thinking back to it, I was in a really dark place back then, and, like, my teacher was right, like, this isn't going to matter, but it does still affect me. Like, it still affects me.
I mean, every situation that you go through, even at this stage, like, it's going to affect you in some way or the other, but I feel like it's just a matter of how you handle it. I feel like lately I have a very better time letting go of things that are out of my control, which, don't get me wrong, like, there's some shit that I get really, like, insecure about and, like, that I can't control and that I worry about from the past, but then it's just, like, why? Like, I feel like I have learned to have that mentality that your teacher had.
Do you ever just, like, sit there and think about something you did years ago and you're like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person?
Yes. Oh, 100%.
I think that all the time, but, you know, as a whole, you need to really look at who you are as a person and, like, know that that's not who you are.
Like, I think about certain times when, like, I've treated people awfully, and I know that's not me as a person, but, like, looking back, it's like, holy shit, like, how did I do that to someone?
Yeah.
And I don't know, yeah.
I've just learned to treat people with more respect. And
I mean, I'm still young, like, still 23, but, like, yeah. So, I mean, looking back then, I was still pretty young when I did that, and yeah, it's just, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But.
This is why podcasts are hard, because you kind of run out of your ideas or what you want to talk about. But that's all part of the process. So, yeah, it's challenging to talk about
and then you don't want to get too personal either.
You don't, yeah. That's one thing.
You want to keep it broad, but you want to keep it helpful.
I want to be able to relate with you guys, but there are things that I need to keep to myself.
Too.
Yes. So obviously have been childhood traumas, like, I don't know if a lot of you know this, or, like, if you're listening and you don't know who I am, like, welcome to my life. But I grew up with a father who was very abusive, and that's pretty much all I'll say, but it still affects me today, and I have decided to not be in contact with my dad ever again, and yeah, that's something that, you know, I decided a couple of years ago. I can't believe it's been so long that I've decided this, but that my life is so much better without him in it. And that's another, like, you're growing apart from people. Like, there are things that he's done to me that no child should ever have to go through. And he is sick. He is very sick. And there's no excuse for it. But I still tried to keep a relationship with my dad, you know, and as time went on, I thought more to myself about it, and things came up that, you know, like, you forget, your brain tells you to put memories away, and then sometimes they come back. Like, you want to shut out memories, and then they haunt you, basically. So, yeah, I mean, like, going through that as a child and growing up with a single mom and everything like that was very difficult for me. But I think it has shown me more empathy, more, you know, just I'm more of a caring person. I listen better. When someone needs me, my arms are open. So if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. That's basically what I'm saying, is, like, something that I went through, it's so embarrassing, and I can't talk, like, I still can't talk about it, but it wasn't my fault, and all I'm saying is that it doesn't define who you are, and your parents also don't define who you are.
No, and I definitely think it shapes you, because you grew up with one parent who clearly wasn't a great role model and wasn't that present.
Yeah.
And it helps shape you as the person that you are. And I feel like you're more empathetic because you would want someone in your life at that point in age to be the person that you are now.
Yeah, I think
if that makes sense.
I'm not grateful for what happened to me, but it happened, and like I would, like if I could go back in time and change what happened, I would, like, but you can't control things. Mm-hmm. You can't control what happens in your life sometimes. And that's another thing, is you don't have control over your life like we think we do. Mm-hmm. We don't have control over that. So there's never a day that I wish that I could go back and relive a moment and change something.
No.
Because everything is the way it's supposed to be.
I mean, I feel like everything does happen for a reason, like, as cheesy as that sounds. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a part of your life and, like, makes you who you are.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
It doesn't... I don't know. I feel like it's tough when you have parents that, like, weren't all that great. Mm-hmm. Like, I had parents that just weren't very present. And so it's just kind of, like... I learned to become really observant of, like, what mm-hmm. to do and what not to do in life. So I feel like that has kind of carried with me as a person. Like, I really watch people's actions, and, like, I learn how to react to certain situations. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, in younger years when I said I blow up before, like, I did. And that's because that was a learned habit from one of my parents. And I've learned to overcome it, and, like, as we said before, like, it doesn't define you. Mm-hmm. And it does suck when you have to grow up in those situations where you kind of have to teach yourself what's absolutely. Okay and what's not okay.
Absolutely. It's crazy what people can go through, and they can be the best people in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, take Oprah Winfrey, for example. Like, all the crap that she had to endure throughout her life. And now she's amazing. I mean, she's always probably been amazing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, shitty things happen to amazing people. Like, I'm pretty sure that the most horrible things that have happened to someone I know happen to people that are... some of the greatest people out there.
Well, our friend Cassie keeps getting bad luck, but she's a pretty dope person.
Just get...
Life just, like, shit happens, and you either learn to deal with it or you don't. And you need to take care of your mental
health.
You need to take care of your mental health.
I feel like I'm so happy that the mental health movement is coming along, and that I feel like that has a lot to do with forgiving yourself and with growing up and making sure your past doesn't define you either, because when you have to go through stuff as a child, or when you go through situations that are life-changing, like family breakups, jobs, school, like anything that could be life-changing situations, like, I feel like people don't understand how much those things affect your mental health and just mental health in general.
Yeah. Something that used to get me kind of fucked up was tests in high school. Like, okay, so we went from one science teacher to the next, but there was this one science teacher that I had, and he said something like... it's very rare for someone to have test anxiety, and I knew that I had test anxiety without even knowing that I had it, mm-hmm. because I would always get, like, really nervous and like to take tests, like my life depended on it, basically. So I was thinking, like, that just sounds like me, but at the same time, he was making it so that it was almost like a joke, like that. If you think you have test anxiety, you don't.
Like, people are just really rude about...
People are very ignorant about it. If they don't have experience with it,
They don't understand.
And I'm not saying that anyone who doesn't have experience with mental health is ignorant or doesn't have a clue, but I'm just saying, like, there are people that are very ignorant about it, and we need to change that.
Mental health is just important. Like, you need to make sure before you are taking care of any other aspect of your life that your mental health is okay. Otherwise, nothing else will succeed.
Yeah, you need to be okay in the membrane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mental health is very important to me for many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We all know, and the thing is, we all know someone.
We all do. And I feel like
if it's not you, we all know someone.
Like, yeah, and I feel like at some point or another, you have to go through something that makes you need to talk about your mental health.
Yeah,
like, people need to understand that
okay to get help.
It's okay. Like, it doesn't define you as a person to be weak or just not normal. Like, it doesn't at all. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's way more common now for people to accept that it's okay to go talk to someone.
I'm someone who has gone to see a counselor since I was probably a 4-year-old girl, and I've never really seen a stigma to it, like, until I got older, because no one really talked about getting help, and it's just something that I grew up with and that was normalized to me, because my parents, or like my mom was amazing. She's an angel, but she was the one who, you know, as a 4-year-old, like, 4-year-olds can need therapy too.
Mm-hmm.
So she was very smart in a way that she would bring me to therapy, and I would talk about, you know, what's going on. And it was, sometimes I wouldn't even, like, you know, have anything to say. We would just, like, talk, and, you know, it's just good to get things off your chest and to, like, you know, just release that energy and get the advice from a professional.
I definitely feel like people need to know too, like, if you aren't matching with a certain therapist, like, there are so many out there, like, find one that fits you.
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done, but
it's definitely, I mean, yes, there's multiple aspects that goes into
but if a counselor or a therapist is making you feel uncomfortable or uneasy and you aren't comfortable sharing with them, then you need to find someone else.
Well, like, for example, like, when I went through my whole, like, when I had the eating disorder a few years ago, and I went to go see a counselor about it, because it takes a toll on your life, like,
absolutely it does.
I went to this counselor, and I'm not body shaming at all. Like, the human body is beautiful, but when I went there, it was after I was at the point where I wasn't eating anything, and I was obsessively working out and, like, counting calories quite crazy. And I walk in there, and there's a McDonald's bag on the counter, and the person's not the tiniest. And after you get off, like, an eating disorder, what's your fear? I didn't eat McDonald's. I didn't do that. And, like, she was just very, like, I just couldn't relate to her. And, like, that sounds super, super shitty. And I know I might be being too blunt about that, but that's
there's
how I
triggers.
felt at the time. That's a trigger. Yeah. Like, that's just a really big trigger for me at the time. Now, I would be okay. But, like, I went to her twice, and I could not relate to her about anything. So I had to find someone else. And, like, you have to understand, like, not everyone's going to be the right match for you.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing that I wish...
And stick up for yourself.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that taught me a lot when I went to the next one. But I honestly feel like the only thing that I hated about therapy, and I've said this to so many people, but, like, I fucking hate when you go to see a therapist and they're telling you why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's just kind of like, you yourself know why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Like, I had an eating disorder because I was insecure as fuck, and I thought I wasn't good enough, and I was comparing myself to everyone. Like, that's,
you already know the reason behind.
I know the reason. Like, tell me how to fucking fix it, and tell me what I can do to make myself better. Like,
mm-hmm.
don't tell me why I'm feeling the way, because I know. And, like, that's what I discussed with my counselor after, like, 3 appointments. I was like, we have gone over this, like, rotation, and we're repeating everything of why I'm feeling this way. Like, I need to know.
I need a solution.
Yeah, I need a solution. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. But so many therapists don't get that, and I feel like when you go in to therapy, you need to lay out why you're feeling the way you're feeling and tell them straight up.
Just be honest. Be 100% yourself. Say anything that's on your mind.
Yeah.
Even if it's unrelated. Like, they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do. It's what their job is. It's what they,
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for.
It's a non-biased opinion. Like, they can't define you by anything because you're just telling them what's going on in your head right now.
I could not endure what someone who is a therapist goes through.
Yeah.
I would never be able to do that. I mean, I'm here for my friends. I'm always here to talk. But it's just like there are some things that people go through that just would probably make me want to cry. Mm-hmm. I would probably not be okay in a session with someone. I would totally cry. Like,
I definitely think it's a job. Like, you have to get ready to hear everything. And it could be some of the sickest stuff ever. And, like, you need to help that person.
Yeah.
Like, I give them props, and that's why I am not against therapy, counseling, any type.
And isn't it crazy? Okay, so, not gonna lie, when I was going through a very hard time in my life, like, I'm not going to lie, like, I do suffer with a mental illness, and I was just trying to get the help that I needed for it, and it was a 6-month waiting list. Mm-hmm. And that turns you off.
Yeah. You don't want to do that. You want help now.
Yeah. So
it's not that you're impatient, but when you are going through stuff, you don't want to be on a waiting list to let out what's going on. So it makes it
very hard, but also there's apparently not enough jobs for social work or therapists. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Like, this is what our country needs. This is what we need. This is what not just America, like, we all need it. Like, everywhere. Mm-hmm. America.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm surprised we got through a whole episode without your roommate. Or not your roommate. Not your roommate. Just kidding. Your neighbor. Singing. That's crazy.
She's just being really loud.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm surprised she has friends. Just kidding. That's really fucking mean.
I'm surprised she has friends. Oh, whatever. Any last minute thoughts?
This is a deeper episode.
For sure.
Maybe next time.
Something a little lighter next time.
Maybe something a little funny.
Funny. Not so serious. But at the same time, I think it's necessary that we talk about it. It needs to be talked about.
Oh, it definitely does. I think just, like, accepting who you are as a person, and then past, I definitely think your past has a huge thing to do with mental health, so, I mean, it wasn't like the two subjects were too far off.
No, they weren't at all. Like, the things that you go through as a child, they shape you into who you are as an adult. Mm-hmm. And if who you are as a child needs help, and you're still in your, your 24-year-old, 23-year-old body, like, give that child, some release, give them some closure, give them some therapy, like, if you're dealing with something from so long ago, make sure you get the help that you need. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But definitely, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't go through therapy. I'd probably be very bitter at the world.
Mm-hmm. It helps so much.
Yes. I can't
if you are
express
going
that
through
enough.
anything, if you are having bad thoughts, like, just go see someone.
Yeah.
Like, it is so important.
Like, it's not the easiest thing to do, but you'll thank yourself.
Mm-hmm.
in the long run, you will be very grateful. And that 6-month waiting list, it went by so quickly, but it's like at first it feels like forever, but when it finally comes, like you're taking care of yourself. That's what you need to do. So it's worth it. 100 times over worth it. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, we'll lighten it up. Maybe we'll talk about casual sex or something next week.
Casual sex. Or what else do we have on here?
Why do you have free the nip?
Oh. Why do I have free the nip as one of the subjects? I don't honestly know, but we can read up on it. The free the nip movement.
We'll talk about nipples and casual sex next week.
Yes, I think nipples and sex.
All right.
Well, I mean, unless you're a weirdo, or you have sex with your shirt on. Like,
I tend to keep sweaters on, so.
Sometimes, like, you need to, because it's cold. A sexy sweater. Sexy sweaters. All right, bye, guys. Thanks for listening. Do, 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 do,
okay.
do, do, do.